Hello, everyone, and welcome. Whenever we talk about communicating with machines, or we say we are operating machine, that mean a human is able to control devices or operate devices. So how is this thing possible, as we are humans and we are dealing with machine? So there is a software that is very much important, and that is known to be a language processor. And in simple words, if we have to say it, so we need a translator that will translate the language, that is human language, into the machine language. So in this video we are going to discuss about the language processor. So let's start it. First thing here, we have to understand that what is a language processor. A language processor or translator is a software tool that translates human readable programming languages into machine language that computer can understand and execute. So it simply translates the human readable languages, that are the higher level languages, into the machine language, that is computer's own language, right? If we have to say this thing in simple words, the language processor translates the source code into object code. Language processors are a critical part of software development and communication between human readable code and computer instruction. So it simply just translates the language into computer language, right? Whatever we are giving the instruction, whatever coding is behind in high level language, it simply converts into the machine language. Before further proceeding, friends, we have to revise the understanding about our languages. There are three type of computer languages, that is the low level language, assembly language, and the higher level language. If you have to understand it better, so there is a small trick. You have to go for the user understanding. Like, if a user have low understanding about a language, it is known to be a low level language, and that is machine's own language, that is machine language. And we all know machine language is the binary language. Then assembly language is a step forward from the binary language, in which there was the use of alphabets and mnemonics, like there were special characters, reserve words like add, subtract, average, max, min. So in this way, we were moved from the machine's own language to another language. And then there are the high level language, in which user have the higher understanding about the language, and the languages we are using, we are working on, we are doing programming on, like C, C++, Java, Python, JavaScript. We have a lot of high level languages. So we have to go towards the types of language processor or language translator. So in respect to three languages, we have a type of three, you can say, the processor or translators, in which we have first compiler, then we have assembler and interpreter. So these are the three types of language processor. We have three language processors, that is compiler, assembler, and interpreter. Let's get into the depth of each. Number one, we have compiler. So the language processor that reads the complete source code written in high level language as a whole in one go and translates into an equivalent program in machine language is called a compiler. In simple words, is I have to say that it just translates the whole code at once into the machine language. The source code is translated to object code successfully if it is free of errors. The compiler specifies the errors at the end of the compilation with the line number when there are any errors in the source code. The error must be removed before the compiler can successfully recompile the source code. So compiler just translates the whole code, either it is of 3 lines, 4 lines, 1000 lines, 4000 lines. So it's just going to compile the whole code in one go, right? And then after the end of compilation, it will gives us the errors with the line number. Then we have to go for the removal of the errors, and then we have to recompile it before running. So this was a figure that depicts how a compiler works. We have a source code that is of a higher level language, then compiler just translates this language into object code, that is machine language binary. And if I have to give an example of compiler like C, C++, or C sharp, these are the example of compilers. I hope you understand well. Now we have assembler. By the name assembler, so it is related to the assembly language. The assembler is used to translate the program written in assembly language into the machine code. The source program is an input of an assembler that contains assembly language instructions. The output generated by the assembler is the object code or machine code understandable by the computer. Assembler is basically the first interface that is able to communicate human with the machine. We need an assembler to fill the gap between human and machine so that they can communicate with each other. So friend, assembler simply it is for the conversion of assembly language into the machine language, or we have to convert the assembly language into an object code or binary language, right? And here assembler was the first interface that able us human to communicate with the machine, right? So here is a picture that depicts how assembler works. Same is the thing, but here the source code is not the high level language, but it is the assembly language. So it converts the assembly language into the machine language. Heading towards the last one, that is the interpreter. The translation of a single statement of the source program into machine code is done by a language processor and execute immediately before moving on to the next line is called an interpreter. If there is an error in the statement, the interpreter terminates its translating process at that statement and displays an error message. The interpreter moves on to the next line for execution only after the removal of the error. An interpreter directly executes instructions written in a programming or scripting language without previously converting them to an object code or machine code. An interpreter translates one line at a time and then executes it. So how does an interpreter work? It's simply both interpreter and compiler work same, like they have to convert the high level languages into the low level language, but the difference is compiler just compiles the, or you can say translate the whole code. On the other hand, interpreter just converts line by line. So it will first convert a single statement, and if there is an error it will display the error, so user has to remove the error for the execution of the next statement, right? So it works like that. An interpreter translates one line at a time and then executes it. So here is a figure that depicts how interpreter works. We have a source code that is high level language, then we have interpreter. It just converts the source code into executable code, that is the machine language, and then it will ask for the next instruction. So it goes instruction by instruction. So if I have to give the example of interpreter, so we have JavaScript, we have Perl, right? So these are the examples of interpreter. Friends, I hope you find this video informative, and this was the very basic regarding the language translator. And in this video we just completed the series of our system software, and inshallah in the next video we are heading towards the application software. So if you find my video informative, do give it a like please, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, because there are going to be more informative video on this channel. So stay tuned and stay blessed.